Hey there, welcome. Tonight, I want to share something a little different. Something that might change the way you approach those quiet moments before sleep. You see, most of us have a habit of saying a quick prayer as we drift off, almost like reciting a familiar script. But what if I told you there's a way to transform that routine into a real conversation with God? A genuine, heartfelt dialogue rather than a one-way monologue. In this script, we're going to explore how, before sleep, you can truly talk with God, not just talk to Him. This isn't about following a rigid formula or memorizing fancy words. It's about being honest, being open, and letting your heart speak. Imagine this. You're lying in bed after a long day, the world outside is winding down, and you have a few minutes all to yourself. Instead of the usual rushed, "Good night, God," you take a moment to pause, you let your thoughts settle, and then you begin to share your day. The joys, the disappointments, the moments that made you laugh, and those that brought tears to your eyes. And then in that stillness, you invite God into your thoughts and feelings, asking, "What do you want to tell me tonight?" It's like picking up the phone and having a long, meaningful chat with a best friend who truly cares about everything going on in your life. Now, I know this might sound a bit different from what you're used to. Maybe you've always seen prayer as something you do quickly, a ritual to check off before you close your eyes. But tonight, we're diving into a more intimate practice. We're going to look at why the moments just before sleep are perfect for deep, reflective conversation with God. I'll share practical tips, stories from the Bible, insights from modern research on sleep and mindfulness, and even some personal stories that show how this practice can transform your life. Before we dive in, let's set aside any preconceived ideas. There's no right way to talk with God. What matters is that you're genuine, that you're willing to open your heart. Whether you're feeling overwhelmed by the day or just grateful for the little moments, this is your time to connect, to share, and to listen. And trust me, God is always ready to listen, even if you think you're just talking at Him. He's there, waiting for you to invite Him into your world, right at that quiet, tender time before sleep. So settle in, relax, and let's explore together how to make your nighttime prayer a true conversation, a dialogue that not only eases your mind, but also nurtures your spirit. Tonight, we're shifting from simply talking to God to truly talking with Him. And I promise you, it might just change everything. The importance of a bedtime conversation with God. When the day finally winds down and you're getting ready to rest, your mind is often still buzzing with all the events, emotions, and thoughts of the day. It's at this time that our guard is lowered, our defense is down, and we become more receptive to the quiet whispers of our hearts. That's why the moments before sleep can be the perfect time to have a meaningful conversation with God. Think about it. As you prepare for sleep, your body and mind are naturally transitioning from the hustle of the day into a state of calm. Research, even if some of it is more anecdotal than scientific, suggests that winding down with a reflective practice can have a huge impact on your mental well-being. When you allow yourself to truly process your day through prayer, you're not only easing the mental chatter but also inviting a sense of peace and clarity into your life. There's something incredibly intimate about talking with God in the stillness of the night. It's a time when the distractions of daily life fade away, and you can really focus on what matters most: your inner self and your connection to something greater. Many people have reported that when they take time to reflect at night, they experience a deep sense of gratitude, release from the day's stress, and even better sleep. Imagine drifting off knowing you've unburdened your heart, that you've shared your triumphs and your struggles, and that you're ready to face a new day with a fresh perspective. The Bible itself gives us hints about the power of nighttime reflection. Verses like Psalm 4:8, "In peace I will lie down and sleep, for you alone, O Lord, make me dwell in safety," remind us that sleep isn't just a physical necessity, but a spiritual opportunity. The psalmist understood that trusting in God brings peace, even in the quiet moments of the night. And there are countless stories of biblical figures who sought solace and guidance in the quiet hours, finding strength and comfort when they needed it most. Now, I'm not saying that every night will be filled with miraculous encounters or that your worries will vanish entirely once you start this practice. But what I do believe is that there's a subtle, transformative power in turning your bedtime routine into a conversation. It's about shifting your perspective from a hurried, almost mechanical recitation of prayers to a dynamic exchange where both you and God are active participants. Modern research on sleep and mindfulness adds another layer to this idea. Studies have shown that reflective practices, whether it's journaling, meditation, or simply mindful breathing, can significantly improve the quality of sleep. They help reduce anxiety, lower stress levels, and promote overall mental health. Even if some of these findings are still debated among experts, there's plenty of evidence to suggest that taking a few moments before sleep to center yourself can be incredibly beneficial. And when you combine that with the idea of conversing with God, you're tapping into both spiritual and psychological well-being. There's also a personal side to this. Many people who have adopted a more conversational approach to bedtime prayer talk about a sense of emotional release. They say that sharing their day with God, honestly and openly, helps them let go of lingering worries and regrets. It creates a kind of emotional reset, allowing them to step into sleep with a lighter heart. Whether you're dealing with a tough day at work, a difficult relationship, or just the weight of everyday life, that nightly conversation can be a powerful tool to help you unwind and prepare for a new day. So tonight, as you lay down your head, consider this. Instead of just reciting a fixed prayer or simply asking for forgiveness, why not invite God into a genuine conversation? Talk about your day, your fears, your hopes, and your dreams. And then, in that sacred moment of silence, listen, really listen, to what he might be saying back. It might not be a booming voice or a dramatic revelation. More often, it's a quiet whisper that brings a sense of calm, a small nudge of wisdom, or a feeling of being deeply understood. Ultimately, the importance of a bedtime conversation with God lies in its ability to transform the way you rest, both mentally and spiritually. It turns a routine moment into an opportunity for healing, growth, and deep connection. And that's something truly worth exploring. Reframing your approach, conversing with God, not just talking to him. Now that we've talked about why bedtime is such a special time for reflection, let's shift gears a little. Many of us have been conditioned to think of prayer as a one-way street. We stand or sit, speak our words, and then quickly move on with our day, or in this case, our night. But here's the thing. God isn't just a passive recipient of our words. He's not some distant figure up in the sky who only listens to what we say. In fact, he wants to engage in a real, two-way conversation with us. Think about your best conversation with a friend. It's not just about you talking nonstop, is it? It's about both of you sharing, listening, and responding to each other. The same goes for your relationship with God. Instead of just talking at him, what if you started talking with him? Instead of only reciting your prayers, what if you began to share your thoughts, feelings, and experiences as if you were chatting with a close friend? This shift in perspective is about breaking down the old habit of a one-sided prayer routine. It means moving away from the idea that prayer is just a ritual, a list of requests and praises that you recite from memory. Instead, it's about creating a space where you can be completely honest with God. It's about saying, I'm feeling overwhelmed today, but I'm also grateful for the little moments of joy, and then pausing to see what he might add. It's about asking, what can I learn from this day? Or, how can I do better tomorrow? And really listening for his response. I want you to imagine that you're sitting down with a dear friend who has been with you through thick and thin. You wouldn't just launch into a long speech without giving your friend a chance to speak, right? You'd share, pause, listen, and maybe even laugh or cry together. That's exactly the kind of conversation we're aiming for here. It's a dialogue, not a monologue. And you might be wondering, how do I even start this conversation? What if I don't know what to say? Well, the beauty of it is that there's no perfect script. The goal is to be real. Real about your struggles, your joys, and everything in between. Start by simply greeting God as you would a friend. Say something like, "Hey God, thanks for being here tonight." Then, let your thoughts flow naturally. Talk about your day, even if it feels messy or disjointed. The key is not to worry about the perfect words or the perfect structure. It's about authenticity. There's also a lot of wisdom out there from various spiritual practices that support this approach. For example, many forms of contemplative prayer and centering prayer focus on the idea of being present and open to receiving guidance, rather than just speaking. Some spiritual teachers even say that true prayer is as much about listening as it is about talking. Even if the scientific evidence isn't entirely conclusive, countless people have found that when they shift from a routine, rehearsed prayer to a more genuine dialogue, they experience a deeper sense of peace and clarity. It might feel a bit awkward at first. After all, if you've spent years just reciting the same words every night, suddenly trying to have a real conversation can seem unfamiliar. But like any new habit, it gets easier with practice. And the more you do it, the more natural it will feel. You'll start to notice subtle shifts in your mood and mindset. You might even begin to sense moments of clarity or gentle nudges of insight in the quiet spaces between your thoughts. There's also the matter of understanding who God really is in this conversation. Many of us have an image of God as this grand, distant figure, someone who only deals with the big, dramatic moments in life. But the truth is, God is right here with you, in the small, everyday moments, even as you lay in bed at night. He's not distant or unapproachable. He's a constant companion, ready to listen and guide you. When you start to see him as a friend, a confidant who truly cares about what you're going through, it becomes so much easier to open up and have that honest conversation. In fact, some theologians and spiritual writers suggest that the most profound moments of spiritual growth come from these quiet, unstructured conversations. They argue that it's in the raw, unfiltered moments of vulnerability that we truly connect with the divine. And while there's no one right way to do this, there are some tips and tricks that can help you get started. For instance, you might consider beginning your conversation with a simple greeting, then reviewing your day, expressing gratitude for even the small blessings, and finally, asking for guidance or wisdom as you drift off to sleep. It's a flexible framework, one that you can adjust to fit your own needs and personality. Remember, this isn't about achieving perfection or following a strict routine. It's about making space for a genuine, heartfelt conversation with God. Whether you're dealing with a tough day, celebrating a small victory, or simply feeling a bit lost, these moments before sleep can be a powerful time to reconnect with your true self and with the divine presence that's always with you. So tonight, I encourage you to try this new approach. Instead of just talking to God, invite him into a real conversation. Share your thoughts, listen for his gentle guidance, and allow yourself to be fully present in that quiet, sacred space. You might just find that this simple shift transforms your nighttime routine into one of the most cherished parts of your day. The Bedtime Prayer Conversation Blueprint. Let's get into some practical details about how you can set up this bedtime conversation with God. Think of this as a friendly blueprint, a flexible guide that helps you shape your thoughts and feelings into a genuine dialogue. There's no one-size-fits-all formula here, but having a few steps to follow can make it easier, especially when you're just starting out. First things first, preparing your space and mind is key. Your bedroom is already a personal sanctuary, but you can enhance that feeling of calm even more. Dim the lights, turn off any screens, and create an atmosphere that invites relaxation. You might want to light a candle or play some soft, ambient music in the background, whatever helps you feel peaceful. The idea is to signal to your body and mind that it's time to slow down and get ready for a reflective conversation. Once you're in the right environment, take a few moments to settle into a comfortable position. Lie down or sit in a way that feels natural. Close your eyes and take a few deep breaths. Inhale slowly, hold for a moment, and then exhale, letting go of the tension of the day. These simple breathing exercises help quiet the noise in your mind and create a space where you can truly focus on what's coming next. Now that you're relaxed, it's time to start your conversation with God. Begin with a gentle greeting, something as simple as, "Good evening, God. Thank you for being here with me tonight." This isn't about being formal or using elaborate language. It's about opening up, just as you would with a close friend. Let these words come naturally in your own style. Next, take a moment to review your day. Think about everything that happened, both the good and the not so good. There's no need to censor yourself or worry about sounding perfect. The goal here is honesty. Speak about your successes, your mistakes, your moments of joy, and your times of struggle. You might say, "Today was a mix of ups and downs. I felt happy when I helped a friend, but I also felt really stressed at work." By sharing your true feelings, you create a space for genuine connection. After you've recounted your day, shift your focus to gratitude. Even on days that feel challenging, there are always small blessings to be thankful for. A kind word, a moment of beauty, a bit of laughter. Take a few moments to acknowledge these things. You might even list them out in your mind or whisper them softly. Gratitude is a powerful tool. It shifts your perspective and opens your heart to receiving more goodness. Once you've expressed gratitude, it's time to address any feelings of regret or guilt. We all have moments we wish we could change, but tonight is about letting go. Speak honestly about anything that's weighing on you, and then ask for forgiveness, not just from God, but also from yourself. Say something like, "I'm sorry for the mistakes I made today. Help me learn from them and move forward." This isn't about dwelling on the past. It's about releasing the heavy burden so you can sleep more peacefully. Now come the questions. After you've shared your day and expressed your emotions, pause for a moment and ask, "God, what do you want me to know tonight?" This simple question is the turning point. It shifts your conversation from a one-way monologue into a dialogue. It's an invitation for God to speak into your life. Now be patient. Sometimes the response might come as a quiet thought, a small feeling of peace, or even a memory of a comforting Bible verse. Other times, it might be a gentle nudge telling you that everything will be okay. Here's a little secret. You don't need fancy words or a rehearsed script. Just be yourself. If your thoughts wander, or if you get distracted, that's completely okay. The point is to keep the conversation open and honest. Think of it as a nightly ritual that slowly becomes a part of your life, a time when you can reset, reflect, and reconnect with your true self and with God. Before you close your eyes, spend a few extra moments in silence. Let your mind rest. If thoughts come up, just acknowledge them and let them drift by. This silence is where the real magic happens. It's the space where you might catch a whisper of insight or feel a deep, comforting presence. Allow yourself to linger in this quiet moment, feeling the calm and the gentle connection that forms when you truly listen. Finally, wrap up your conversation with a closing thought or affirmation. You might say, "Thank you, God, for listening and guiding me tonight. I trust that you're with me as I rest and as I wake to a new day." Let these words linger as you drift off to sleep, carrying with them the assurance that you're not alone, that you're in a constant, caring conversation with the divine. This blueprint isn't set in stone. It's a starting point. Feel free to tweak it, add your own steps, or rearrange things in a way that feels right for you. The most important thing is that you're engaging in a real conversation with God, opening up your heart, and inviting a sense of peace and clarity into your life. Over time, this practice might become one of your most cherished parts of the day, a moment when you let go, connect deeply, and truly rest in the presence of love and understanding. Biblical and historical perspectives on nighttime prayer. Let's take a moment to look at how this practice isn't just a modern idea, but is deeply rooted in tradition and history. Throughout the Bible and across various cultures, people have turned to the quiet hours of the night to seek solace, guidance, and connection with God. When you hear stories of David pouring out his heart in the Psalms or Elijah listening intently in the quiet after a storm, you can see that nighttime prayer isn't a new concept. It's a timeless practice. In the Bible, we find many instances where the night was a time for deep, reflective communication with God. Think about King David, who wrote so many heartfelt psalms. His words capture the raw emotion of his experiences: joy, sorrow, fear, and hope, all expressed in the quiet moments before sleep or in the depths of the night. There's something incredibly powerful about knowing that even in the darkest hours, you can turn to God and find comfort. Then there's the story of Elijah in 1 Kings 19. After a long day of challenges and despair, Elijah fled to the wilderness, expecting to hear a dramatic display of God's power, a roaring wind, an earthquake, or even a fire. But what he encountered was a gentle whisper, a quiet reminder that God's presence isn't always loud and overwhelming. Sometimes it's found in the softest, most subtle moments. That gentle whisper is exactly what we're talking about here. The idea that when you create space for a sincere conversation, you might just hear God's response in a whisper of calm, in a sudden flash of insight, or in the peaceful quiet of your heart. Historical practices from various cultures also support the idea of nighttime reflection and prayer. In many religious traditions, the end of the day is seen as a sacred time, a moment to reflect on the day's events, to express gratitude, and to seek guidance for the future. Whether it's the Islamic practice of Isha prayer after sunset, or the ancient Jewish tradition of saying the Shema before bed, there's a shared understanding that the moments before sleep are ideal for connecting with the divine. Even outside of strictly religious contexts, the idea of nighttime reflection has been embraced by cultures around the world. In many parts of Asia, for example, practices like meditation and mindfulness are often incorporated into evening routines, helping people to clear their minds and prepare for restful sleep. And while these practices might not always be explicitly about communicating with God, they share a common goal: to create a space for calm, introspection, and healing. Today, modern writers and spiritual thinkers continue to champion the benefits of this practice. They suggest that the act of unwinding with a reflective conversational prayer can lead to not only spiritual growth, but also improved mental health. Some studies even point to the fact that engaging in a mindful routine before sleep can lower stress levels, improve overall well-being, and help create a sense of inner balance. Whether these findings are universally accepted or still debated, the countless personal stories of transformation and healing speak for themselves. When you think about it, the practice of nighttime conversation with God is as old as time. It's a tradition that spans generations and crosses cultural boundaries. And while the language and the specific rituals might vary, the underlying principle remains the same. In the quiet moments before sleep, there's a unique opportunity to connect with the divine in a way that's both personal and transformative. By embracing this age-old practice, you're not only honoring a rich spiritual legacy, but also inviting that same power and peace into your own life. Practical techniques and rituals to enhance your bedtime conversation. Now that we've explored the historical and biblical roots of nighttime prayer, let's talk about some practical techniques you can use to make your bedtime conversation with God even more meaningful. These aren't hard and fast rules. They're simply suggestions that might help you deepen your connection and create a ritual that feels both natural and powerful. One of the simplest and most effective techniques is journaling. Before you head to bed, grab a notebook or open a note app on your phone and just start writing. Don't worry about grammar, punctuation, or even making sense. Just let your thoughts flow. Write about your day, your feelings, your successes, and your regrets. You might be surprised at how much clarity comes from putting your thoughts on paper. And if you're not into writing, speaking your thoughts out loud works just as well. The goal is to capture your emotions and experiences in a way that feels honest and raw. Another technique is to incorporate a bit of meditation into your routine. You don't have to be an expert or follow a strict script. Simply take a few minutes to sit quietly, breathe deeply, and let your mind settle. Focus on your breath, or perhaps a single word or phrase that holds meaning for you. As you do this, invite God into that space. Imagine His presence surrounding you, calming you, and guiding you. Even if your mind wanders, gently bring your focus back to your breathing and the comforting thought that you're not alone in this quiet moment. Music can also be a powerful aid. Many people find that soft, ambient music or the gentle sounds of nature, like rain or ocean waves, can create an atmosphere that's conducive to reflection. You might choose a playlist that helps you relax and sets the mood for a peaceful conversation. Let the music serve as a backdrop, a reminder that even in silence there's a rhythm to life that carries you into rest. Another idea is to use scripture or inspirational quotes as a starting point for your conversation. Choose a verse or a quote that resonates with you and let it guide your thoughts. For instance, you might reflect on Psalm 4:8 or think about the gentle reminder from Elijah's story. Let these words sink in and then allow them to spark further reflection. Ask yourself what that verse might be saying to you tonight. Perhaps it's a reminder to let go of your worries or an invitation to trust that you're exactly where you need to be. It can also be helpful to create a small ritual around your prayer time. This might include something as simple as lighting a candle or setting an intention for the night. Rituals have a way of marking a transition, from the busy thoughts of the day to the peaceful quiet of night. When you perform a ritual, you're signaling to your mind and body that it's time to shift gears. Over time, these small actions can help create a consistent habit, one that eventually becomes a deeply ingrained part of your nightly routine. If you're ever feeling stuck or unsure of how to start, here's a simple template you can use as a guide. Greeting. Begin with a warm, genuine hello to God. Something like, "Hi God, thank you for being here tonight." Review. Share your day with Him. Talk about what made you smile, what challenged you, and even what upset you. Let your words be honest and unfiltered. Gratitude. List a few things you're thankful for. They can be big or small, a kind gesture from a friend, a moment of beauty you witnessed, or simply the fact that you're here tonight. Release. Bring up any regrets or mistakes from the day and ask for the strength to learn from them and move on. Invitation. Ask God if He has any words for you tonight. Ask, "What do you want me to understand about today?" Or, "What guidance do you have for me as I rest?" Silence. Spend a few moments in silence. Listen, breathe, and let the stillness fill you. Closing. End with an affirmation of trust and hope. Something like, "Thank you, God, for listening. I trust that you're with me as I sleep and as I wake tomorrow." These steps are just suggestions. The beauty of this practice is that it's yours to shape. Some nights, you might feel like writing a long letter to God, while on others, a brief, heartfelt conversation might do the trick. The key is to make it personal and genuine. Remember, the goal here isn't to perform a flawless ritual or to impress anyone, even God, with your eloquence. It's about creating a space where you can be yourself, where you can laugh, cry, vent, and be thankful all in one breath. It's about embracing the full spectrum of your emotions and knowing that in those moments of vulnerability, You're building a relationship with God that's both real and transformative. There's something almost magical about this practice. Many people who've tried it report feeling a profound sense of release, as if they've set down a heavy burden before drifting off to sleep. And while the benefits might not be immediately obvious every night, over time, you may notice changes in how you handle stress, how you approach your challenges, and even how you experience rest. Overcoming common barriers to a meaningful bedtime conversation. Let's be real for a minute. Shifting your bedtime routine from a simple recitation of words to a full-on conversation with God can feel a bit intimidating at first. You might wonder if you're saying the right things, or worry that your thoughts will never be coherent enough for such a meaningful exchange. You might also find that distractions, like your phone, your racing mind, or even the noise of everyday life, can get in the way. The good news is you're not alone in facing these challenges, and there are ways to overcome them. One common barrier is simply the habit of rushing through your nightly prayer. If you've spent years just reciting a quick prayer before sleep, it can be hard to suddenly slow down and really engage in a conversation. The first step is to acknowledge that this is a process. It takes time to build any new habit, and this one is no exception. Start small, maybe just add an extra minute or two to your routine, and gradually, you'll find that you're able to spend more time in this reflective space. Another hurdle can be distractions. In our modern world, distractions are everywhere, from the constant buzz of notifications on your phone to the endless stream of thoughts that race through your mind as you try to settle down. One way to tackle this is to create a dedicated space for your bedtime conversation. Turn off your phone, close the door, and try to carve out a little sanctuary where you can be alone with your thoughts. If your mind starts to wander, gently bring your focus back by taking a few deep breaths or reminding yourself of the simple goal: to have a conversation with God. Some of you might also struggle with self-doubt, wondering, what if I'm just talking to myself? What if God isn't really listening? These questions are completely natural. Many people feel that way at first. The truth is, even if you don't feel an immediate dramatic response, that doesn't mean nothing is happening. Sometimes God's response is subtle, a nudge of understanding, a moment of clarity, or even just a deep, unexplainable sense of peace. Trust that even in silence, your conversation is being heard. Another challenge might be the fear of vulnerability. Opening up about your struggles, your regrets, and your deepest emotions isn't easy. It takes courage to lay your heart bare, even in the privacy of your room. But here's the thing. Vulnerability is where real connection happens. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you create an opening for true growth and healing. God isn't expecting you to have it all figured out or to present a polished version of yourself. He's there to meet you exactly where you are, with all your imperfections and raw emotions. If you ever feel stuck, remember that it's okay to start with simple, even repetitive words. Over time, as you get more comfortable, those words might evolve into longer reflections and deeper questions. The process is fluid. It adapts to your mood, your needs, and your unique way of connecting with the divine. Another tip is to acknowledge that it's okay if some nights are harder than others. Not every conversation will be filled with insights or revelations. Some nights, you might just feel like sitting in silence, and that's perfectly fine. Others, you might have a burst of emotions and thoughts that you need to get off your chest. There's no right or wrong way to do this. The goal is simply to keep the conversation going, even if it feels a bit awkward at first. For those nights when you're feeling especially distracted or doubtful, consider having a short mantra or affirmation to help center your thoughts. It might be something like, I am open, I am heard, and I am loved. Repeat it quietly until you feel a bit more focused. Little routines like this can serve as anchors, bringing you back to the moment when your thoughts start to scatter. In time, as you consistently practice this form of prayer, you may find that these barriers naturally begin to diminish. The initial awkwardness fades away, replaced by a growing sense of ease and familiarity. And even on the nights when you feel distracted or uncertain, just remember that every conversation, every moment of genuine effort, is a step toward a deeper, more meaningful connection with God. Integrating conversational prayer into your daily life. You might be thinking, this sounds great for bedtime, but what about the rest of my day? And that's a fair question. While tonight's focus is on turning your bedtime routine into a heartfelt conversation with God, the beauty of this practice is that it can influence your entire day. When you cultivate a habit of open, genuine dialogue with the divine, that mindset can seep into every aspect of your life. Start small by carrying the same spirit of openness into your daily moments. It doesn't have to be a formal prayer every time you pass by a mirror or sit down for a meal. It could be as simple as a quiet thought, "Thank you for this moment," or "Help me be present now." Over time, these small interactions can build into a more continuous, ongoing conversation that lasts from morning until night. Imagine your day as a series of interconnected moments: a morning coffee, a work meeting, a quiet lunch, an unexpected challenge, and finally, that peaceful bedtime routine. When you approach each moment with the same intention to connect and communicate, you create a seamless flow of dialogue with God. It's like having a constant supportive friend who's with you at every step of your journey. For some, this might mean setting aside a few minutes in the morning for reflection, or even jotting down a quick note of gratitude as you start your day. For others, it might mean taking a brief pause during a hectic workday to center your thoughts and reconnect with that inner peace you cultivate at night. The idea is to make this conversational approach a holistic part of your life, one that isn't confined to a single moment, but permeates your entire existence. There's also a community aspect to consider. Many people find that sharing their experiences with others can enrich their practice. Whether it's joining a small discussion group, attending a study circle, or simply talking with a friend about your nightly reflections, opening up about your journey can bring additional insights and encouragement. You might discover that others have struggled with the same distractions or doubts, and learning how they overcame them can be incredibly inspiring. Think about the long-term impact this practice can have. As you continue to engage in a heartfelt conversation with God, you might notice subtle changes in your attitude, your mood, and even your overall approach to life. You may find yourself more patient, more grateful, and more attuned to the beauty of everyday moments. The cumulative effect of these small nightly conversations can lead to profound personal and spiritual growth over time. And here's something else to consider. The very act of turning your focus inward and creating a space for genuine reflection can be a powerful antidote to the chaos of modern life. In a world that often feels overwhelming and fast-paced, taking the time to slow down and connect with your inner self and with God can provide a sense of balance and stability that is hard to come by otherwise. So as you work on integrating this conversational prayer into your daily life, be patient with yourself. It's not about perfection or following a strict routine. It's about making space for genuine connection. Whether it's a brief moment of gratitude in the middle of your busy day or a long, winding conversation before bed, every bit of intentional reflection contributes to a deeper, more fulfilling life. Extended reflection. Deep dive into the practice and its transformative power. Let's take a deeper dive into why this practice of conversational prayer can be so transformative, not just as a nighttime ritual, but as a way of living. There's a whole world of research, personal stories, and even some theories that suggest that the act of self-reflection, particularly when paired with a sense of connection to something greater than ourselves, can change the way we experience life. Some scientists and psychologists have studied the effects of mindfulness and meditation on sleep and overall mental health. While the research is still evolving and sometimes debated, Many experts agree that reflective practices can reduce stress, improve mood, and even enhance the quality of sleep. The idea is that when you take time to process your thoughts and emotions, you're giving your brain a chance to reset. And what better time to do that than just before you drift off into sleep? There's also a psychological theory that suggests that talking through your day, even if it's just with yourself, can help organize your thoughts and create a sense of order out of chaos. When you share your experiences and emotions in a deliberate, structured way, you're not just venting, you're processing and understanding them. This can lead to a deeper sense of clarity and peace, which in turn makes it easier to let go of the day's worries. On a more personal level, many individuals have shared how this practice has transformed their lives. I've heard stories of people who, after adopting a conversational approach to prayer, began to see small but significant changes in how they handled stress, approached challenges, and even in their relationships with others. They say that having that nightly conversation creates a kind of emotional reset button, a moment to unload the burdens of the day and start fresh with a renewed sense of hope and purpose. There's also a spiritual dimension to consider. When you approach prayer as a conversation, you invite a kind of intimacy that goes far beyond traditional rituals. It's no longer about following a set of rules or reciting memorized words. It's about building a relationship. And just like any meaningful relationship, it grows over time through consistent, honest communication. You begin to recognize patterns in your thoughts, insights in your struggles, and even a kind of guidance that gently nudges you in the right direction. It's as if each nightly conversation plants a seed that slowly blossoms into greater self-awareness and spiritual depth. Some spiritual teachers argue that this practice is one of the most profound forms of self-care. By giving yourself permission to slow down and have a deep conversation with God, you're acknowledging that your feelings, your struggles, and your joys all matter. You're creating a space where you can be completely honest, without fear of judgment. And in that vulnerability, you often find strength and clarity that you never knew you had. Even if you're not entirely convinced by all the theories or scientific findings, there's no denying that many people have experienced real, tangible benefits from this practice. Some say they sleep better, others say they feel more centered, and many simply report that their relationship with God has deepened in ways they never expected. Whether it's a placebo effect or a genuine shift in perspective, the outcome is the same: a more peaceful, connected, and fulfilling life. And here's another interesting thought. Even if you approach this practice from a skeptical angle, if you're not 100% sure that it's working or that God is really talking back, the very act of slowing down, reflecting, and seeking something more can be incredibly powerful. It's a way of acknowledging that you deserve a moment of peace, that you're worth taking care of, and that sometimes just pausing to breathe is a radical act in a busy world. So as you continue to explore this practice, give yourself permission to experiment. Some nights, you might try a longer conversation. Other nights, you might find that a few quiet moments are all you need. Over time, you'll discover what works best for you, and in doing so, you'll likely find that this practice becomes a cornerstone of your personal growth and well-being. Reflection and call to action. As we wrap up this conversation about transforming your bedtime routine into a real, heartfelt dialogue with God, I want to leave you with a few final thoughts and a challenge. We've talked about why the moments before sleep are perfect for reflection, how to set up a genuine conversation with God, and even explored some of the historical, biblical, and modern insights that support this practice. Now it's time to take it all in and make a commitment to yourself and to the idea that you deserve a deep, honest connection with the divine. Take a moment to think back over your day. What were the moments that made you smile? What were the challenges that left you feeling uneasy? And now, imagine carrying all of that into a conversation with God. A conversation where you're not just talking at Him, but really talking with Him. Picture yourself sharing your thoughts, your gratitude, your regrets, and your hopes. And then, in that gentle silence, feeling the quiet reassurance that you're not alone, that God is there, listening, caring, and ready to guide you. Tonight, I challenge you to try this new approach. Instead of just reciting a memorized prayer, take a few extra minutes before sleep to have a genuine conversation with God. Be honest about your day, express your gratitude, and don't be afraid to bring up your struggles. Ask, God, what do you want me to know tonight? And then, wait, listen. It might not be a dramatic answer, but trust that in those quiet moments, you're building a bridge of understanding and connection. As you embark on this practice, consider sharing your experiences with someone else, a friend, a family member, or even in a community group. You might find that you're not alone in this journey, and that others have stories and insights that can help you along the way. Sometimes, talking about these experiences can deepen your own practice and open up new avenues of growth. Remember, this isn't about getting it perfect every night. It's about creating a space for genuine connection, a space where you can be vulnerable, honest, and open. And over time, you may find that this practice transforms not just your nights, but your entire approach to life. You'll start to see that every day, no matter how challenging, is an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to connect with the divine in a way that feels natural and deeply rewarding. So here's my invitation to you. Tonight, when you get ready to sleep, take a deep breath, quiet your mind, and have that conversation with God. Let go of any worries about doing it right or saying the perfect words. Just be real, be honest, and trust that in that moment of quiet reflection, you're creating something beautiful, a connection that can carry you through the night and into a brighter tomorrow. Conclusion. As we come to the end of this exploration into transforming your bedtime routine into a genuine, heartfelt conversation with God, take a moment to breathe deeply and reflect on what you've discovered. Every night offers you a unique opportunity, a sacred moment when the bustle of the day fades away, and you can truly connect with your inner self and with God. This isn't just another ritual or a recitation of words. It's a chance to open your heart, to speak honestly, and to listen for that quiet, loving response. Imagine tonight as more than a closing of the day. Picture it as a gentle transition, a bridge that takes you from the chaos of everyday life into a space of calm, reflection, and hope. When you lie down to rest, you're not just shutting off your eyes, you're inviting God to walk with you into the realm of sleep and dreams. In that silent darkness, there is an opportunity to leave behind the weight of the day, to let go of your worries, and to embrace the comfort of a conversation that isn't about perfection, but about connection. Think back over the ideas we've discussed, from the importance of preparing your space and mind to the practical steps that help you move from simply talking to truly conversing with God. You might remember the gentle greeting that starts the dialogue, the honest review of your day with its mix of joy and struggle, and the precious moments of gratitude and release. These are not arbitrary steps. They are invitations to be completely real. Each word, each pause, each moment of silence is a way of saying, I'm here, and I'm open to what you have to share with me. Many of us have been conditioned to think of prayer as a checklist or a performance, a time when we recite memorized words and then quickly move on. But what if we could change that perspective? What if, before sleep, we saw prayer not as a duty but as a dialogue, a chance to be vulnerable and to trust that in our honesty, we invite healing? The idea is both simple and profound. Instead of talking at God, tonight, try talking with Him. Let your words flow naturally without worrying about form or correctness, and allow yourself to experience the freedom of genuine communication. This practice can be especially powerful when you think about the research and personal stories that have surfaced over the years. Studies suggest that a mindful, reflective practice before bed can reduce stress, calm your mind, and even improve your sleep. And while not every claim is backed by universally accepted science, the personal experiences of countless individuals underscore a powerful truth. When you take the time to speak openly and listen deeply, you invite a transformative kind of peace into your life. You might wake up with a clearer mind, a lighter heart, and a renewed sense of purpose, a testament to the impact of a nightly conversation that goes beyond mere words. There is also a beauty in the simplicity of this practice. No complex rituals or elaborate ceremonies are needed. All you require is a quiet space, a few moments of stillness, and the willingness to be honest with yourself and with God. In that honesty, you may discover hidden truths about your day, insights into your struggles, and even sparks of inspiration for the future. You might find that over time, this conversation becomes a comforting friend, a steady presence that guides you through challenges and celebrates your victories. As you prepare for sleep tonight, consider the possibility that every word you speak is a step on a journey of self-discovery and spiritual growth. Your conversation with God isn't measured by eloquence or length, but by the sincerity of your heart. When you say, "Good night, God," "Thank you for being here," or "Help me let go of today's worries," you are affirming that you are not alone. Even in your moments of silence, know that you are heard, and that the divine presence is with you in every breath and every heartbeat. Take a moment now to visualize that peaceful exchange. Imagine your thoughts and feelings rising gently like a soft melody as you speak, and then imagine a quiet, reassuring reply, maybe not in words, but in the warm sensation of comfort that fills you. This is the magic of a true conversation with God. It doesn't always come in loud proclamations or dramatic revelations. More often, it's in the subtle shifts in your heart, the quiet assurance that you are loved and cared for, that you can find solace amid life's storms. As you reflect on these ideas, remember that your journey is uniquely yours. There's no need to compare your experience with anyone else's. Some nights, the conversation might be filled with insights and clear guidance. On others, it may simply be a gentle release of the day's burdens. And that is perfectly okay. The value of this practice lies not in its consistency or its intensity, but in its authenticity. Every night is a fresh start, a blank page on which you can write your thoughts, your prayers, and your hopes for tomorrow. Let this conclusion be an invitation, a heartfelt call to action. Tonight, as you prepare for bed, set aside a few extra minutes for this personal conversation. Open up about your day, your feelings, and your dreams. Express gratitude for the moments of light and offer forgiveness for the times when you fell short. And then, pause. Embrace the silence and listen for that gentle, guiding whisper that might come in the quiet. Remember, this isn't about doing it right every time. It's about doing it honestly. Over time, you may find that this practice reshapes your nights and even your days. You might notice that you fall asleep with less anxiety, wake up with more clarity, and face life's challenges with a deeper sense of resilience. And isn't that a gift worth giving yourself? In the end, the true essence of a bedtime conversation with God is the simple, enduring truth that you are never alone. No matter how heavy the day has been, you have the power to lay it all down, to connect deeply, and to find rest in the promise that you are cared for. As you drift off tonight, allow that thought to envelop you like a warm embrace, and know that each night is a new opportunity to reconnect, heal, and grow. May your nights be filled with peace, your heart with hope, and your spirit with the quiet joy of knowing that every conversation you share, no matter how small, builds a bridge between you and the divine. Sleep well and wake renewed for the promise of a brand new day. Appendices and additional resources. If you're ready to dive even deeper into this practice, here are a few extra ideas and resources to guide you along the way. First, consider keeping a dedicated journal for your nightly conversations. This doesn't have to be fancy. A simple notebook or a digital document will do. Use it to jot down your thoughts, reflections, questions, and any insights you might feel during your prayer. Over time, you might be surprised by the progress you make and the patterns that emerge. If you're looking for further reading, there are plenty of books and articles on contemplative prayer, mindfulness, and spiritual reflection that can provide more context and techniques. While some of these ideas are still theories or unproven claims, they're worth exploring if you're curious about how others have approached the idea of a genuine conversation with God. Even if you take only a few nuggets of wisdom from these sources, they can add depth to your practice. You might also want to explore guided meditation or prayer recordings specifically designed for bedtime. There are many out there, some that last just a few minutes, and others that are longer, more in-depth sessions. These can be great companions if you ever find yourself unsure of where to start, or if you just want a little extra guidance on those days when your mind feels especially cluttered. Finally, remember that this practice is entirely personal. Feel free to adapt it in ways that suit your personality and your life. The structure we've talked about, greeting, review, gratitude, release, invitation, silence, and closing, is merely a starting point. Let your heart lead you, and over time your unique conversation with God will develop its own rhythm and flow. So, as you move forward, keep these resources in mind. Experiment, explore, and most importantly, be kind to yourself. Building a deep, meaningful connection with God is a journey, not a destination. With every nightly conversation, you're taking a step toward a more peaceful, connected, and fulfilling life. Thank you for spending this time with me, for being open to a new way of thinking about prayer, and for choosing to explore the possibility that every night can be an opportunity to truly connect. May you find comfort in the quiet, strength in the conversation, and peace as you rest.